Are you having any fun?
Are you having any fun?
What you getting out of living?
What you getting out of living?
What good is what you've got?
What good is what you've got?
If you're not having any fun.
You're not having any fun.
So what is the title of our theme this month? Are you having any fun? Yeah. And today my topic is playing in my sandbox. It's so funny, I had written this talk before this text came in last evening from my granddaughter-in-law, Melissa, who most of you know, with pictures of Abby, who most of you know, and Cora, called Happy, who most of you know, playing in the sand at Salt Creek Beach Park in Laguna Niguel, California. And Addie had on her Minnie Mouse sunglasses that her Gammy gave her the last time they were at Downtown Disney. So it was so perfect for them playing in my sandbox because Salt Creek Beach was walking distance from where I used to live in Laguna Niguel, California. So when was the last time you played in the sandbox? Yesterday. A good answer. You know, there are lots of possibilities where this is concerned. With kids or grandkids, like I just shared with you at a park, or maybe the sand when you're planting a garden or weeding a garden. And the beach, of course, the sandbox for most of us living here on the island, because that's really my favorite and has been since I was a toddler living in Santa Monica, California, because I like the sand between my toes. I like it under my fingernails. I see some of you grimacing from that. Even sometimes in your bathing suit, yeah? Because you can rinse it out. You can make it go away in no time at all. But in the meantime, so much fun. Have you watched, particularly the tourists, when they come here, for some reason, they gotta build sand castles. And it's so interesting, they dig these deep holes to take the sand out to build the sand castles. Kind of curious. And then the ocean comes in and it fills up the deep holes and it knocks down the sand castles right back at it. The kids are undiminished by their sand castles or whatever they're building being knocked down. They go right back to it because it's so much fun. And maybe we recall those kinds of things from when we were children, and that we just loved to dig our toes into the sand. Or maybe you were one of those people that maybe you just couldn't wait to wash your toes off so that it felt good again. But it's the whole idea of playing in a whole different medium. And as adults, when we do that kind of thing, it's easy for us to recall childhood memories or to watch other children at play and see them making childhood memories. And that warms your heart. The sounds of their joy, or perhaps when you see them jump and fall and run around in the sand and in the ocean, you know, you get that parental intake of breath. But there's a lot to think about where a sandbox is concerned. Whether it's a whole beach or whether it's in a backyard for a toddler. Which is another way of saying it's all in our perspective, isn't it? Even sand is an example of perspective. And perspective is as a result of what our own experiences are, isn't it? It's just that our Creator has such fascinating options for us. I love the beach, but I don't care much about the desert. They're both sandy. What's the difference? It's my perspective. That's what. I love riding over the sand dunes at the beach. I don't care much about a one-lane dirt road in the mountains. They're both an e-ticket ride, at least the ones I've been on. But what's the difference? It's my perspective, isn't it? There was a wonderful article in the Science of Mind magazine not too long ago about Karen Drucker. And it speaks to this very thing that I'm talking about. You all know who Karen Drucker is, I think, although not all of you have had the opportunity to meet or experience her in person. But she is a songwriter. She is a singer. She is an icon of the New Thought movement, and she does it with music. Here are some lyrics from one of her many, many songs, and listen to this message. I'm taming my inner critic. It's not welcome anymore. I'm taming my inner critic. I'm kicking it out the door. Taming the inner critic. One of the messages in this is captured in the words of another song that Karen wrote so beautifully, which goes this way. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. So these words come from this beautiful expression of divinity that Karen is. The same woman who, as a 6th grader, used to ride the bus from where she went to school to the CBS television studios in Hollywood, California, every week for the taping of the hilariously funny Carol Burnett show. Any of you remember Carol Burnett on television, her show? Well, one day, as she did to open every one of her shows, Carol asked if anybody in the audience had any comments or questions. And Karen, 6th grade now, sitting in that audience recalls, and these are her words, as if possessed by some demon, I witnessed my right hand shoot right up. I would like to challenge you to a Tarzan calling contest, Karen said, rather timidly once she actually got Carol's attention. Well, I'm sure all of you remember Carol Burnett's signature Tarzan call. And Karen said she used to use it as a child to practice it constantly at home. And when you have heard Karen sing in public, you know that she has that powerful voice to be able to do that. So with Carol Burnett's enormous grace and her sense of great possibilities, I guess, she called 12-year-old Karen Drucker to the stage. And as the two of them performed that Tarzan call to perfection, the crowd went wild. And Karen said she was hooked. She was hooked on performing and on the choice to go for it, to go for it, to give everyone a chance to play in her sandbox. And those are her words. That's where I got the title of this talk. Years later, she wrote a song about that moment. And the words in that song go this way. I can do it. I can do anything. I release. Let go. I go with the flow. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is another wonderful example of how our experiences mold and shape our perspective. And obviously, that can be for our highest and best when we choose so. You may never hear that Tarzan call again out of Carol Burnett's mouth without thinking about this. Because this is the truth. This is a real life story of someone whose entire life went in the direction it went as a result of that experience. Well, how many of you get daily messages from the universe? Anybody? I wake up to them every weekday morning on my iPhone, of course. Here's the one that I received on Friday morning this past week. It may sound familiar to some of you whose hands went in the air. Virginia, do you think if someone deeply believed that they and I were one, that I stirred in their heart, ran through their veins, and shone from their eyes, that they would wait for the part of me that existed outside of themselves to make their dreams come true? Or would they seize each moment, each day, every day, assured of their inevitable success? Whew! And then the bottom line said, Virginia, I work through you, not for you. Signed, the universe, or spirit, or God, or whatever you call that energizing force. But just that idea, signed, the universe. Well, I'm sure many of you are familiar with TUT, T-U-T. That's the website that these daily messages come from. In fact, one of you put me on it some time back, and I've both mentioned it and forwarded some of its messages to many of you. So the prolific mind behind the universe is Mike Dooley. Or I should say, God by means of Mike Dooley. And if any of you have been doing Louise Hay's Current World Summit, which is just wrapping up this next week, you may have heard Mike talking about how to live deliberately. And he's on there along with Greg Braden, who's talking about the science of miracles, Bruce Lipton talking about you are not your genes, that's G-E-N-E-S, Wayne Dyer talking about the power of your intentions, Anita Marjani talking about living heaven on earth in a fear-based culture. And on this list goes. Dozens of new thought metaphysicians sharing their ideas, their discoveries, and most importantly, their own successes in developing and maintaining a positive atmosphere in and around themselves, and then sharing it with anybody who is willing to try it for themselves. Well, back in 2009, Mike Dooley published this book, The Infinite Impossibility, The Infinite Possibilities. Anybody else besides me read this? You can tell it's well read in my house. Chapter 1 is titled, Thoughts Become Things. Chapter 2 is titled, Beliefs. And then he's even got a chapter entitled, Abundance, Health, and Harmony. Does any of that sound familiar? Yeah. Is this another one of those examples of Ernest Holmes' influence, like Troward, Emerson, Quimby being influences on Holmes? How about like Chopra influencing Dyer and Lisa Rankin? Is this maybe a conspiracy to lift the consciousness of the world? Or is this a genuine, sound, truthful, real, sincere unfolding of the discoveries of the minds open to the greater good? What opportunities we have. I guess the question we might ask ourselves is, does this path bring me a sense of well-being, of positive curiosity, of positive energy, of new ways to open to the greater good? what broad-based opportunities there are now, and so many different ways of accessing them. In Mike's book, Infinite Possibilities, there is also a chapter titled The Elixir of Life. Kind of a time-dated word, elixir of life. And I wonder, is this the panacea for all ills, do you suppose? The magic bullet? The cure-all? Well, maybe. The best way to find out is to read the book or listen to it on audio. But I'll give you a hint. I'll throw you a carrot, and then you can take it from there. Understanding. Understanding. The chapter on the elixir of life is a quick 10 pages. And from there, reading the rest of the book supports what those 10 pages on understanding are talking about. So the bottom line, folks, is it's all in our perspective. Whether fun is only playing in the sand and splashing water, or fun is getting together to eat, to exercise, to talk, or fun is sharing new ideas and challenging old ones, or fun is breaking into dance and song with the realization that I can do it. I can do anything. And maybe even doing your Tarzan yell if you want to. Karen Drucker says, I have this sandbox. I want everybody to play in my sandbox. Her demonstration of that is the traveling that she does to churches, to spiritual communities, to conferences throughout the world, impacting thousands of people with her heart-centered compositions and songs. And for laughs, she'll even play her kazoo for you. And that's no kidding, I've heard it. So I'd like to leave you with this thought this morning. I'll always invite you to play in my sandbox, if you want to. And if you don't, well, then I'll support you in sitting on a bench, or under a tree, or maybe grilling some hamburgers so we can both do something we love to do, which is to eat. Because we are both. We are all. The hearts, the hands, the blessings, and the voices of Spirit on earth. Better have a lot of fun. You won't be in this life forever.
You won't be in this life forever.
Because you're sure okay.
Because you're sure okay.
Today's the day to have some fun.
Today's the day to have some fun.
And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.